Welcome back to the second part of profiling and retention segment. Devices used to access online platforms we now know are personalized and customized slot machines. But they can also be used for other purposes. Gaming as a pastime is very popular with the digital generation. On gaming platforms, the gambling model used in slot machines ruled the day. Game developers use a litany of techniques to exploit human weaknesses and known human emotional needs to achieve their retention targets. These may include advertised special events that are random, exclusive one-time gifts, or experiences that give those who are participating bragging rights. Some of these exclusive gifts can be sold within the game for real money, thereby making this exercise a bona fide life-sustaining venture. In this space, exclusivity is a precious commodity. The quest to be the last man standing, the quest to be the most senior in the virtual tribe, the quest to own and showcase unique trophies and other virtual properties ultimately disables our decision-making process. There are documented instances where the infinite nature of the game has forced participants to employ the use of diapers just so that they can skip the bathroom break. There are many who miss work and other important appointments, including family events, because of their total immersion in this alternative reality. The boundaries that have made life civil and sanitary for generations are slowly being blurred. Our brains are gradually becoming conditioned to know no ends, no nights, no days, only infinite engagements that the finite brain, coordinating with the rest of the body, cannot handle. In the extreme circumstance, this is what happens.
Even though gaming is intended to be a relaxing way of spending your free time alone or with friends, there are some situations where things go awry and the outcome leads to tragic consequences. Becoming too addicted to a certain video game may prove to be a problem for both your social life and your health, but when you are so keen on beating a high score or finishing a campaign that you play for tens or even hundreds of hours straight, the results are even more disastrous. Today's video will be all about 10 gamers who tragically died playing video games. A 32-year-old Taiwanese man named Shay died of a heart attack after continually playing for 3 consecutive days. He was unemployed, so the next best thing he could do was to go to an internet cafe and engage in intensive gaming sessions. What is completely outrageous, besides the evident dying while playing video games scenario, is the fact that it took the employees of the cafe and the other gamers present a few hours from Shay's collapse to actually notice that he was dead. A more recent case of gaming sessions that proved to be fatal happened in February of this year when a 35-year-old Brian Vignalt took part in a 24-hour-long charity marathon. While playing World of Tanks to raise money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, the father of 3 stepped away from the computer after 22 hours of continuous gameplay to take a cigarette break. But because he struggled so much to stay awake and play, he immediately collapsed and died. Known only as Rustan, this hardcore gamer was keen on playing Defense of the Ancients, especially after breaking his leg and becoming bedridden. For a year and a half, the 17-year-old spent more than 2,000 hours playing, meaning that on average Rustan logged in for 5.5 hours per day. But the almost non-stop sessions that took place during the 22 days after he broke his leg were the main cause that led to his death. Stopping only to nap and eat some snacks, this Russian teenager tragically died from lack of physical activity. Both before and after its release, Diablo 3 caused quite the hype among the gaming industry. Players that were so excited for its release spent hours and hours killing monsters and collecting items. A particularly gloomy case is the one of the Taiwanese gamer known as Chang, who spent no less than 40 hours in an internet cafe, obsessively playing this game. After he collapsed on the keyboard, one of the staff members woke him up, and after taking a few steps, the Diablo 3 fan fell dead on the ground.
In the race to maximize retention, Facebook and other online platforms deliberately play on or manipulate what has long been a function of the brain: comparison The brain constantly compares things and then executes. Is this situation safe? If not, flee. Is this worth my time? Is he marriage material? Is she good enough for my brother? How do I measure up among my peers or among my work colleagues? Most of these comparisons are based on our self-assessments and what we have decided we are or think we are. The motive is always self-preservation, which is what the brain does best: protect us. Using this line of reasoning, the brain will leave us in a state that we are not happy with by finding a worse situation to compare it with. We watch dysfunctional family shows because in our minds, there is a family out there worse off than we are. Bad news spreads faster because we use it as a feel-good feedback loop to pacify ourselves. Tech companies have taken advantage of this brain function and flipped the script on us. On social media platforms, one is bombarded with virtual beauty or virtual good that is unsustainable under most circumstances. This fake life as lived on social media is dictated by and planned according to hourly or daily status updates. To the unsuspecting user looking for affirmation or validation, this creates a state of insufficiency. This is the feeling that no matter how hard they try, they will never measure up. The fact of the matter is that any time you peg your happiness on someone else's post or lifestyle, you've just relinquished the power to control your emotions to them. This can lead to depression and ultimately dislike of one's own image. Once hatred for oneself sets in, virtual bad, which is also infinite and abundant online, takes over. The end result is mental health challenges, which if not checked, can become severe and lead to self-mutilation, hospitalization, or worse, death by suicide.
Here's the thing, the world we live in isn't real. Social media isn't real. And by design, social media rewards us for showing our best life. The edited, posed, champagne, Michelin star, holiday, orchestrated best angle of our life, the highlight reel. But you don't ever see real life, the 99% of our lives, the behind the scenes, the unglamorous, unfiltered, day-to-day, bland normality. And you end up comparing your behind the scenes to other people's fake highlight reel and using others as a mirror or benchmark for how you should look, how successful you should be, or how you should live. These fake comparisons will only serve to make you feel inadequate and inferior to something that isn't even real. Research continually shows that comparing your life to someone else's creates envy, low self-confidence, low self-esteem, and depression. You compare yourself to other people every single day, consciously or subconsciously, and no matter what I say, you're not going to stop because comparing one thing to another is a natural human thing to do. Whether we want to admit it or not, a big reason why anything has value is because there's something worse or better to compare it to. Think about it. An old brick of a mobile phone with a big aerial is only considered amazing in a world before the smartphone. The horse and carriage is only considered a phenomenal mode of transport until the car comes along. The answer isn't to stop making comparisons because unfortunately we can't control that. But you have to change the object of your comparison from someone else to yourself. You have to measure yourself against yourself. And by doing this, you start at a base point where you consider yourself to be perfectly fine exactly how you are. But it also is the most effective, motivating, and healthy way to work to improve yourself. You'll become your happier self when you stop putting pressure on yourself to be more like someone else and when you start comparing real to real.
We are in a really bad state of affairs right now, in my opinion. It is eroding the core foundations of how people behave by and between each other. And I don't have a good solution. My solution is I just don't use these tools anymore. I haven't for years. It's created huge tension with my friends, huge tensions in my social circles. If you look at my Facebook feed, I've posted maybe 2 times in 7 years, 3 times, 5 times. It's less than 10. And it's weird. I guess I kind of just innately didn't want to get programmed. And so I just tuned it out. But I didn't confront it. And now to see what's happening, it really bums me out.
The very young have not been spared from this profit harvesting scheme. Gamification. The dictionary definition of gamification is the process of adding games or game-like elements to something such as a task, so as to encourage participation. A polite acknowledgement of a friend or an acquaintance has been gamified on Snapchat. On this platform, they have the Snap Streak. The gambling equivalent is the win streak. A snap to a friend every 24 hours. No meaningful conversation, just a snap. There are young people who go into panic mode whenever their families schedule trips to places without Wi-Fi or technology. They hand over their personal information to their friends so that the streak can stay intact. Some streaks, Snap streaks, run into years, and as I record this segment, the longest streak is 2,052 plus 1 days. And oh, by the way, exclusivity is also a component of this platform. The one with the longest streak is honored appropriately with gifts and trophies. This is my closing statement for this segment. If you wake up and the first thing you look for is cocaine, you're most likely a drug addict or a cocaine addict. If you wake up and the first thing you look for is social media, you're most likely a social media addict. These processes engage the brain's pleasure center in much the same way. But there is a big difference though. A 12-year-old child cannot buy cocaine to snort first thing in the morning or even during the day. But he or she can wake up with social media, stay on it all day unsupervised. Picture your 12-year-old waking up snorting cocaine and smoking marijuana, all with your permission. This is what happens when we allow unfettered access to social media. After all, social media has been referred to as digital cocaine. The effects are different, but the impact on the brain and the withdrawal symptoms are the same. Stay tuned for your brain on social media. Next.